Singapore wakes up. Wake up, Glenn, Angel, and the Flying Dutchman.
Wake up in the morning feeling like
Kiss 92's Big Show.
Except this morning, it's Angel, the Flying Dutchman, and Daphne Koo, along with Dr. Geraldine Tan from the Therapy Room. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Therapy Tuesday with our resident therapist and psychologist.
Yeah, she's the one that keeps us calm.
And sane.
Makes us realize that life's okay.
It is. It's
This is
always
also perfect. I skipped my therapy this week, so
Oh, there you go.
There
I'm
you
here
go.
on the right day.
This is a free therapy session, by the way. She's not going to bill you for this 40
Oh,
minutes.
thank goodness. I appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Tan.
So, Dr.
worries.
Jerry, today we're talking about building relationships. Just to build a foundation on that, are you talking about every kind of relationship?
No, we're just talking about relationships in general, right? Like, I think what sparked off besides Sean giving me a list of all the different things to talk about is also that it was very timely because there was a lot of teens coming in, children coming in, and complaining about not having friends. So we get that a lot at the center. You know, they don't know how to make friends or they cannot sustain relationship. So I thought it was a good time to also talk about it and the dangers of not having a good relationship.
Okay, so in trying to start a decent relationship, where do we begin?
Well, okay, I've mentioned before the 5 pillars. So the social is one of the very essential pillar. So we have physical, intellectual, emotional, social, as well as spiritual. So spirituality, again, in psychology, it's not a religion. It's just only one of it. It's your creativity. It's that meditative being that we want to tap on. So social is very, very important. But yet, so many people are so weak in it. So I thought we needed to exercise that and build it up a little bit more.
When you say so many people, are you talking about people nowadays, like the new generation, or are you talking about people from our generation? We can talk more about it on the Big Show TV. If you'd like to listen to this conversation, you can tune in to our YouTube and Facebook channels. That's /Kiss92FM. Today is Tuesday, the 28th of March.
Kiss 92 Day Check by Gain City. Gain City's 42nd anniversary sale is
Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
What,
our generation or younger people?
Well, across, right? I think it's not just the older generation, our generation or younger. Notice I said older generation.
Yeah, I know. You're talking about me. I know.
No, or the current generation, you know this. But the current generation do have a genuine issue with the whole relationship, how to form relationship, what is relationship. Sometimes it's so complicated. I think we can have one session just talking about romantic relationship or non-romantic relationship with this particular I think the youth of today, because they have so many
multiple
different
sessions for each one.
Jerry, why are the youngsters today so lacking in social skills like this?
Because of social media.
Is it because they're buried in social media all day?
They think they're very connected, but then you put them in front of someone, they cannot communicate with the other person. They don't know what to say. They don't know where to put their hands. They're so awkward. You know, I think we were just having a little chat earlier, and Daphne was saying about, the calls and trying to connect them via the audio calls. Oh, that's so difficult.
It is,
It's
though.
it's like impossible because you want to communicate with them in an efficient way without losing tone, with having like the best possible way you can communicate, and yet you end up giving them anxiety before they even pick up the phone call.
Yeah.
They'd rather, they feel, I have a friend who was in a relationship and that the other person said, I want to be able to construct what I want to say before I send it over. That's why I would rather not call. But I feel like you end up losing so much of that personal touch, I get that if long distance is a thing, but they both live in Singapore.
But
you
it's
know?
okay to write your thoughts down before having that conversation. It's a different thing to actually send that message before speaking it.
But you see, this is
you
the
know?
thing, Jerry. Why do these people need to construct before
That's
they?
what I'm saying.
But no, but
yeah.
that's okay because for me as well, sometimes when I have a conversation, whether it's with a friend or a partner or anything, I find it's easier for me to write my thoughts down first because I find that when I speak it, it's not about being awkward holding a conversation.
Oh, you don't want to be rash in how you react.
Exactly, and I don't want to lose any of my thought process, and I want it in a certain order.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Get that. I get that. That's. I think you're an empath, right, Angel?
I have no idea what that means.
So like you consider other people's feelings
All the time.
Yeah.
All the
So
time,
I
yeah.
think for empaths, it's more common to want to construct your message so that your message can get across better. Like it's more efficiently communicated because your receiver you've thought about them when constructing
Yes.
the message.
Yeah.
FD looks so confused.
Jerry, does that mean all our young people are empaths?
I mean, they're more
No.
empathetic nowadays because they want to be connected. No,
I
she's
don't
shaking her
think
head
so.
no.
I don't think
No.
so. No.
But I think it's
there's
a
only
different thing,
small
too.
population. I think it's a very, very small population. I think it's the lack of practice, the lack of exposure. I mean, even at my center, there's times when the interns come in and they are requested or they have to answer calls because people call in for inquiries, right?
Yeah.
They don't just text in or email for inquiries. And when the phone rang, once, I remember this very vividly. When the phone rang, this particular intern ran to me with the phone and go, Jerry, what do I say? What do I say? And I was like,
Hello.
Good morning.
maybe hello would be, in order. And then just state your name and where you're from. Just start with that first, and then you listen to the other person.
Yeah.
But this intern was just wrecked with anxiety, and we had a whole learning curve. And this is a student who was in the university.
Wow. And the 2 years or 2.5 years of COVID didn't help at all, did it? Because it created more of a behind the screen environment
course.
for everybody.
Of
And
course.
it was all texting, it was all virtual, it was
Yeah.
not in person.
But you know what? On the flip side of that, like youths don't want to interact with people IRL, like in real
In real
life,
life.
and yet everyone goes live. Like they're put their lives on streaming on the internet.
But
like
they're not
Twitch
actually
and-
talking
they're not
to one
interacting.
person.
But isn't that like a juxtaposition? Like I want to say whatever I want to say. I just don't want the feedback. Like
Exactly.
I don't want to have to interact with you, but I want to be real. You
No
know?
engagement.
I think
Isn't
I
that-
think it's not that I don't want the feedback. Well, okay, feedback's a nice way of putting it. The way I'd put it is I don't want your opinion.
Right. I just want to feel free to be myself
Yeah.
without having to interact. But isn't interaction the whole point of relationship? Right?
Dr.
It
Cherry?
definitely was, you hit something, and I was just thinking about it, right? I think this generation is very interesting. They want people to know their feelings, but they cannot manage somebody else's feelings.
So the
Because when
opposite of
you're-
an empath.
when you're in a conversation or when you're in a relationship, you need to receive the other person's emotions and feelings and then deal with it. But it almost sounds like this generation just wants it one way.
One way,
And
yeah.
for the other person to just be the receptacle of all the different emotions.
So it's not reciprocal at all.
They think it is.
Right,
But they
okay.
But
don't
it's
know
not.
how to deal with it.
When we
Okay.
come back, I'll tell you how I dealt with that problem with my kids.
Okay, traffic, and then we're going on air.
Kiss 92 traffic.
On the SLE towards the BKE, right after the Woodlands Avenue 2 exit, a vehicle has broken down there. Look out for that. Other than that, it all looks clear. But if that's not the case, you can always WhatsApp any information in to 8855-0920. All right, good morning. This is The Big Show, and we're back on air with Dr. Geraldine Tan of the Therapy Room. And today we're talking about building relationships, and we had quite a conversation on The Big Show TV.
Yeah. Now, if you guys have questions on this topic, if you're watching us on YouTube, drop your questions there. If you're watching us on Facebook, drop your questions in the comments column, and we'll put those questions to Dr. Jerry. But Jerry, this whole thing about texting and not talking and not being able to talk, I used to have this problem with my kids when they hit that early teen stage. So I gave them all phones and I was paying the bill. So I would call.
I already see the flaw in this for them.
Yeah. So I would call and they would not pick up.
Yeah.
I would text. I would get an answer in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Even back then.
Yeah. And I went, why?
And this
Why?
was when there was no WhatsApp. Yeah, these were SMSs.
This was SMSs,
yeah.
right? And I would go, why? Why can't you pick up the phone? Dad, it's easier for me to text. So I said, I tell you what, okay? As long as you text, I'm not paying your phone bill. When I call, you pick up the phone. And then they learnt that picking up the phone and speaking wasn't that hard.
And it's more efficient too. You
Yeah.
know what my parents did? Got me a pager.
Oh, yeah, I had a pager as well.
So I had so many excuses to not call, but I would find like a payphone to call. But
A payphone. Oh, my goodness. So
How do
cute.
you help people, Jerry, with this
Social skills.
problem with social skills?
Okay, this social skills thing is really very delicate. So I'm going to go a little bit more clinical. So some people do find it a bit tough to engage with other people. So you have your introverts, you have those that have been traumatized, that have been bullied, those that are anxious, low confidence, even those with Asperger's, so a clinical disorder or another. So they do find it extremely difficult to deal with another person because of their own disorders or issues. But let's break it down to the different types of relationship.
Okay,
So
we'll
the-
break it down on the Big Show TV if you don't mind,
Okay.
Dr. Jerry. We'll talk more on the Big Show TV. You can join us on YouTube and Facebook at /Kiss92FM. The time right now is 8:12.
Kiss 92 Time Check brought to you by Putian. This is your final chance to.
Okay, break it down.
Break it down, Jerry.
Okay. Suddenly when you're off air, you're like
break it
in rap
down.
mode.
Yeah.
Okay, types of relationship. So there's functional, there's transactional, there's purposeful, life-giving, and lifelong relationships.
Okay.
Okay.
What is functional?
So functional is we play a function, we play a role.
Like a work
And-
role, like a colleague?
It can be a work role, it can be a group mate role. I don't need to interact beyond whatever scope that I have.
Okay.
got it.
Transactional relationship would be you have to give me something, I'll give you something. It's
That's
a
what
very,
FD did with his phone, and he said, I pay the bills, you answer the phone. That's transactional, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of,
there are
yes.
overlapping relationships, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. This is not so clear cut, but we can break it down this way. Even in one type of relationship, you can mix and match many different types. Purposeful, that means I have a purpose in this particular interaction. It's a little bit more couched with more compassion, kind of overlapping the life-giving part. That means volunteers are very life-giving. Purposeful, I do things for a purpose, so I might not need anything back from you.
Right.
Lifelong relationships would be your longer
Children,
term romantic
partners.
relationship, family, correct. Yeah, lifelong relationships. So the different types of relationship also would require different levels of commitment, different levels of interaction. So if you have the transactional one, transactional is when, I just go to a coffee shop that I've never been to and just buy my coffee. right?
Yeah.
But it can be a little bit more if, let's say, I often go to this coffee shop and I develop a relationship and I spend a bit more time chatting with that kopi auntie or kopi uncle.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got a really interesting message on our Facebook page in relationship to what we were saying before. Cindy Faith said that I noticed some teens don't feel comfortable talking on the phones. I've noticed my children finding it difficult to know where the exact location on the phone should be on the ears when they first start using it. They don't even know where to put the phone on their face to talk because they're so used to just looking at the thing.
Because
right?
it's simple.
And
hello.
or a lot of people put the phone on speakerphone so
Yeah.
they never have to put it up to their ear. But can you imagine? We grew up with landlines. Like there was only one way to use the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so foreign to us that someone wouldn't know
How to use a phone.
what to do with this, which is so interesting. And then she said ultimately they feel comfortable texting instead because they're just so used to just interacting with the phone
And their fingers.
that way. So they'd rather look at a screen than another human being and deal with that consequence, and I feel like because of that, instead of learning the different types of relationships that you have with other people, it becomes very simple because it's one relationship.
one way.
Yeah.
It's you and your phone.
Like Dr.
Yeah.
Jerry was saying, it's a very one way. You don't have to deal with the emotions and the
But then
interaction.
everything becomes transactional, no? This is all a transaction.
Dr. Jerry?
you
It is. It is very possible that it is a transaction, but they mistake it as something more. They can mistake it as a romantic relationship because, like what Angel says, right? The tone is gone. You don't know what the other person intends or intent is, and it becomes very dangerous. So also another reason why I thought I wanted to speak about it is because sexual grooming becomes very rampant. Because the teens, they go on Discord and they go into a server and they start chatting with a random stranger whom they think is not a random stranger because I'm familiar with this platform, I'm very comfortable. I think by chatting to you, I get to know you. And then these people start to do sexual grooming online. And it creeps up on you and you don't hear the other tones, right? You don't, you cannot vibe the person.
The sexual connotations don't come across.
And it's not even
No,
just that
and
too.
then-
Yeah, I think also as you grow up and then you become an adult, then all of a sudden going into the real world, getting a job, having to interact with people becomes such a chore. And I think that's also why there are so much, it's more prevalent to have like all these mental issues right now and people are shining a light on it. But it's because they're not learning from a young age how to
EQ.
interact
Yeah.
with other human beings. Yeah, and I think that it, I'm like in my 30s and I barely know how to talk to boys. And I'm not even part of the generation that has only grown up on their phone. So I can't even imagine how much harder it is or how much anxiety they must have just going out into the real world.
Dr. Jerry?
I was just thinking about this case that I have, which is a really nice case. He came to me, when he was in poly, and during COVID period, is a very, very introverted young man, but he didn't know how to dialogue with people. And it was worsened by the whole COVID. Everything was online. He couldn't make friends. He was really, really lonely. But yet he yearned to have some human connection. So he started a withdrawal spiral all the way down, had a bout of depression. So it was so bad to the point that I had to tell his parents, please just bring him out to the coffee shop to order food. And he would stutter, he would find it so difficult, but we started from there. Yeah, one person, two, and then right now, he's completing his NS and he is having a community there. He's
Oh,
so
wow.
That's
excited,
awesome.
looking forward to going to university. And we're like, okay, so, you go university, how about girls? And then he blushed. And it's so nice. I say, okay, that's another hurdle that we probably have to cross, but we're going to cross it together. We're going to learn how to talk to the opposite sex. We're going to try and, make some conversation.
Okay, we're going back on air for our last talk set, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Hang on.
Kiss 92 traffic.
No news as of now. You can always WhatsApp any information in to 8855-0920. It is Therapy Tuesday here on The Big Show, and we're with Dr. Geraldine Tan talking about building relationships. And Dr. Jerry, you were just talking about how you took baby steps with one of your patients to integrate them to be not as socially awkward as what we were talking about before. So to that point, how can we take baby steps with people that we want to say draw out more into the society?
It's so difficult. So there are, and there's not enough time to talk about everything, but there's forming relationship and there's sustaining relationships. There are two parts to it. So forming relationships, I think we need to look at the nuances of what interpersonal, so the interpersonal skills, right? How do we, one of the Aspergic boys actually broke it down very well for me when he went into oral examination. So before that, he was so nervous. But when he came back after that, he was just bright and cheery. I said, what happened? He said, oh, I've got it now. You know, when I went to the oral examination, I faced them. And then, so it was pre-COVID, and then, there was no mask. And to have a relationship, I must look at them because they have issues with eye contact, right? Okay, so he looked. And then the next thing is, I smiled. We forget that, right?
Yeah.
You know, the nice bright smile, but many students forget that when they go into oral. But he said, and this was what he said, it is part of communication. I was like, wow, very good. And then he said, so I answered the questions, but I also know another thing about relationship is I need to make the other person laugh. So I told a joke. I said, you told a joke during your examination? And they said, yes. So they laughed.
Oh, nice.
And yes, he is a very high IQ boy, superior IQ, you know, but when it comes to interaction, really, really bad until he broke it all down. And he passed with flying colors. Aced it.
Good for him.
Totally
That's awesome.
aced it.
Well done.
So you think
That's
giving
the
them steps,
forming.
step-by-step guide?
Baby steps.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Yes.
interesting.
Wish we had
Sustaining
more time.
relationship. Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. Jerry. Wish we had all
No
day to
worries.
talk to you. But any last words?
Yes. Okay. Let's look at a little poem. Looking at unconditional love. So it's a poem titled "The Sun Never Says." Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky.
Oh, that's really nice. That's really, really nice. Thanks so much, Dr. Jerry. We're looking forward to next week already.
No worries. I'll see all of you. Blessed week ahead.
To
You
you
too.
too.
Bye.
Today is Tuesday, the 28th of March.
Kiss 92 Day Check by Gain City. Gain City's 42nd anniversary sale is here. Enjoy.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was very
Okay,
good. Very
we're
good.
waiting for Nian Tjoe to come in, and he
And
is
he is
here.
here.
Good morning, Nian Tjoe.
Morning.
Meet Daphne. Daphne is taking Glenn
to meet
Ong's
you.
place.
Just today.
Just for
today,
today.
yes.
He's unwell, so we needed the third
got the
wheel.
flu. He
He's
has got
the
such a specific flu.
Yeah, influenza A, apparently. Yeah.
Which is
Something's going
not
around.
fun.
He's out.
He's really knocked
He's out,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's really knocked out.
He should definitely sanitize his mic too, just in case.
Yeah, but good thing this is not his.
Yeah,
so
none
that's
of these are his, so we're all right.
He has his own
Need to come
special
in a
one.
little closer.
Okay, Nian Tjoe, road safety. Is that what we're talking? You can't hear anything? Wait. Oh, it's mic on?
Is your volume on? Can you hear that?
okay, yep.
Okay.
Oh,
awesome.
okay. Can you pull the microphone closer to you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so we're
So
talking
road
about road
safety.
safety, right?
Yeah.
So, which angle of road safety Pedestrian safety.
Yeah, I'm thinking of pedestrian safety. I mean, the recently also past couple of days, we've been seeing reports and social media about
People lying on the crossroad, right? They use crosswalk.
Yeah, zebra crossing.
That I cannot understand.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's just for my popularity on social media.
Oh yeah. It could have been that. They were just
That's
saying.
all it is.
But that's crazy. You could die. You could actually die if you
No,
lie
but-
down on the crosswalk.
My take on pedestrians. There are
stupid.
two types of pedestrian. There is the one who's always conscious,
Yeah.
right? And there's the other one who is, I'm the pedestrian, I rule everything.
So I think I know where the problem lies. I feel, Nanto, if you don't mind me saying, two types of pedestrians, the drivers and the non-drivers. The drivers who are
Oh, yeah?
pedestrians will know how to cross a road. They'll know how to check a blind spot. They'll know not to cross in front of a car when the car is turning out, instead of behind, because I always consciously cross behind. But when you see the people
Yeah.
cross in front, you're like, okay, these are non-drivers.
No,
That's how I explain it.
I disagree with that completely. I think pedestrians here in Singapore are just arrogant.
Yeah, because the law sides with them
All the time.
Yeah, so they're just like, it doesn't matter. Even
Yeah.
if I get hit, I'll
Yeah,
get some money.
Actually, if we take this a bit further, right? I come from the kiasi perspective.
Okay.
As a pedestrian, you tend to be on the losing end. I mean, you can say that the law or the insurer and everyone be on your side.
Yeah, but you could die.
Yeah, or just be quite unwell, right? So on the point on drivers, I think driver being pedestrians. Maybe the question isn't whether you know or not.
The rules.
Not whether you know
Okay.
the rules or you're aware that the driver won't be able to see me when I cross the road. But I'm just thinking that as a pedestrian, I feel entitled.
Yeah.
Really?
I feel that there's a bit of that sneaking in, and then it's the same where when you again, let's refer to social media because that's where we get our news.
Yeah.
It's like
He said with disdain.
no, it's the reality. But
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The cyclists that run into trouble, right? Are cyclists the cyclists involved? Are they not? I mean, do they all not drive or not use other forms of transport?
I feel like a lot of them
wearing that
don't.
hat,
But yeah.
When I'm a driver, I feel that I own the road because I paid road tax or some kind of, rude thoughts in your head that says that this is my space.
Yeah.
And we don't have bike lanes in Singapore, so
No,
I
we
feel
don't.
like they just feel like it's their right to be wherever they want to be, the
Okay,
cyclists.
but I've spoken to people here, and I'm sure you've heard this. I've spoken to people in the ministry about these bike lanes and stuff. We just don't have the
we don't have the space. Yeah, we don't have the space.
It's not that they don't want to do it. We don't have
I don't
the
know.
space.
I just came from KL, and on certain stretches of the roads, they do have bike lanes.
I don't know how to
And-
say, but in KL, there's no rules. Huh?
No, I know,
feel like
but at least to have a little
Oh,
bit
that's
of the
true,
road,
that's
you know.
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's half a lane, or
Yeah.
even like a third of a lane. I don't know how big a road is. Okay, let's go to traffic, and then we'll introduce you on air.
Kiss 92 traffic.
Okay, on the AYE towards the MCE right before Jurong Town Hall's exit, a vehicle has broken down there. Look out for that and stay safe. Thanks for joining us on The Big Show and The Big Show TV. We have our second guest for this morning. It is Nian Tjoe. He is the senior transport correspondent with the Straits Times. Good morning, Nian Tjoe.
Hello, good morning.
So today we're kind of like extending the topic from last week. We're talking about road safety. There was a recent statistic that more old people died from traffic accidents in 2022 than 2021. How much more, or how many more?
Well, in absolute numbers, I think, frankly, one is too many,
Too many.
right?
Well,
but
yeah,
but
of
it's like
course.
double-digit increases, these
Yes,
things.
because we are in, I believe 2022 was in the 20s.
Yeah.
And before that, it was in the teens.
Right, okay.
But to be fair, in 2021, we didn't go out very much, right?
Yes.
Is that, you think that's the cause?
Actually, that's a good point because
Yeah,
actually most of the
COVID.
stats when it comes to this were all from the report from the traffic police, and it was like more accidents on the expressways, just vehicles,
Yeah.
and then people getting injured and fatalities as well. So there is definitely this question of just the more of us are on the road, more of us are getting around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought this stat was also a little bit deserves attention because the question is old folks getting injured and worse. they tend to do the worst in terms of getting well as well, right?
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
of
Yeah.
course.
They tend to do the worst in terms of decisions as well when they're trying to cross the roads. I mean, I've seen so many older folk deciding not to use a crossing or an overhead bridge because it's just so much easier to just jaywalk.
No,
Yeah.
it's
I've
also
seen
it's
so
also
many.
a lot of them. I think see the overhead bridge as cumbersome, difficult, which is why the government's trying to put the
Put
lifts
lifts
in the
in,
bridges.
yeah, yeah.
They see that extra 50 meters to a traffic light.
It's too
just
much.
Too much
But
for
I'm
them.
telling you, even with the lifts in, they'll be crossing the roads rather than walking that extra distance to take that and go across.
Then I think what we really need to do is we need to step up enforcement. You know, and I'm sorry, start to fine the hell out of these people.
Yeah.
It's the only way to stop it.
I tend to take the other side. I mean, I agree that we should have policing.
Yeah.
But even as a motorist, I'm quite a diehard motorist here. That to give a bit of thought, for the pedestrian, especially the older ones, especially I mean, this is what
and
civic
slow
society
down
is
a
about,
bit, right? I've seen some people actually speed up when they see people crossing the
Yeah.
roads, you
Yeah,
know?
which is stupid.
It's just
Yeah.
impatience and all that. Okay, well, let's go back on the Big Show TV to continue talking about this. And we'd also like to say good morning to Mr. Tan because he has brought or is bringing our boss, Steve, somewhere safely. So good morning, Mr. Tan. Hello, and thank you for listening to Kiss 92. We're going to continue this on the Big Show TV. Right now, here's Doja Cat with Need to Know.
Blows my mind every time we get on the Big Show TV. We have someone, his name is Fred Hassa.
Okay.
He is listening to us from Albania.
Good morning, Albania.
Good morning,
We have people
Fred.
from all
Everywhere.
over the world
Everywhere.
who watch and
Yeah.
listen to us.
That's
it's
crazy.
Unreal.
Yeah, we've had from everywhere. Okay, so
Okay.
old people
Old
crossing
people.
the roads.
Yeah.
What can we do? And is that the main reason that number is going up?
Is it mostly
can
old
we know?
people?
Like, do we know?
No, it's not mostly old people. They're just more old people around.
It is an
We're an
aging,
aging
it is
population.
an aging
Aging
population.
population,
So when you
yeah.
say old, you classify it as
So
how many
officially
years?
it's 55 years
And above.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then 60 is classified as even
Senior.
older.
Okay, yeah.
Senior. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought that back to it is that the stats and what we can do about it. So in terms of the planning of the roads, you might have noticed there are like silver zones and all these
Yes.
places in our housing estates, right? Or the technical term is traffic calming measures. But on the other hand, it's still it's still interaction of people. Whether
Yeah.
you're behind a machine, a
Yeah.
bicycle, a car, a PMD, a scooter, or on foot, or it's kids or
on their
or
scooters.
scooters
Yeah.
and all that. So I think it comes back to a little bit of that. I mean, in terms of enforcement, I would think the one thing that comes to mind is you got to enforce it for no jaywalking on expressway, for example, the plainly obvious stuff.
Do people jaywalk on expressways?
I've seen people walk
Yeah.
on an expressway.
What?
Yeah.
Yes, it's
And it's illegal.
Well, yeah, of course it is. Yeah. It's illegal to cycle on an expressway as well,
Yes,
right?
that's
Okay,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just back to, if I can draw more technical considerations, is the speed differentials.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, on the expressway, obviously, you're going a lot faster.
Yeah.
But think about it, and you take that thought of the crucial thing is reaction time, is the speed of one vehicle to the next or to the person. And we move this into the towns, in the townships where we live, and we are always moving around, where old people, young people are all getting around. Then there is responsibility on both sides.
Yeah.
The motorists,
Need to slow down.
Yeah. Within that kind of speed that says that I can react.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you cannot count on the next person being sane.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course,
Well,
of course.
It might be distracted.
Yeah, but I can create these things, but the pedestrian still has to understand that he cannot suddenly step off a curb onto a road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, years ago, and I remember this vividly. 10 years old, I'm in Australia, and they have a campaign for pedestrians. So what did they do? They took a car traveling at that time. I think it was 15 miles an hour. 15 miles an hour. And they threw a watermelon in front of the car. And the caption
Whoa.
was, "This could be you."
Yeah.
That was it.
It's a powerful image.
Oh, they
And
have a new one that's actually really cool. So they have it's like a bus stop but with no chairs.
Yeah.
And you stand in front, and it's kind of like it can tell what your body looks like.
Yeah.
So it forms like a skeleton. So people are dancing in front of it, and it looks like a skeleton. And then they're enjoying themselves. They play around with it. All of a sudden, there's an image of a car that comes to crash them and breaks all their bones
into the skeleton.
Image, in the image.
Wow.
And they said this could be you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a nice
Because
one as
people
well.
kept jaywalking in that area.
It is very visually disturbing. But sometimes
It
when I
works.
think we've had all these campaigns for pedestrians, we've had all these campaigns for self-drivers, if our numbers are still going up, then we need to look at it differently. You know, because it's scary for me. I live in Choa Chu Kang, and you cannot believe the number of times I've watched people cross a road without even thinking.
So how do we help? Because as much as we say the motorists have to slow down, and a lot of us do, you still see these errant pedestrians crossing. How do we, as children of older people, or people who know older people, stop the stubborn older people from doing this? Because they can be stubborn, as can we all.
Yeah.
How do we encourage them not to do what they do?
Wow, that's a good one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
education.
is there a campaign that we can put out there? Is there something that we can tell them will happen to them if they don't be careful,
Because the marketing stuff, I don't think really works on people in that age.
No, it
group.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. They're not looking at that.
I think one of the ways, it's very, very expensive, but every road has a divider on it
Yeah, to block it off.
and a metal railing.
But you still see
There's no
people crossing over
still
there. Unless
climb
they
over it.
unless they have the prongs. The metal
with the
railings and the prongs is
yeah.
okay. But if they're straight, you will
Yeah.
still see people crossing them.
You will. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
just like you see the islands where you get the soil starts appearing.
Yeah, because it's
where the
crunch.
jaywalking
So
is
I wanted to
happening.
ask you about that. There are some roads, particularly one that I can think of is outside Novena Square, United Square. United
Yeah.
Square. There's a difference in the height of the roads, right? One is lower, one
Yeah.
is higher. And there's actually a stairs and a crossing where there's no traffic light. So I wanted to ask about that. Is there a ruling where you can cross the road if it's a certain distance from the traffic lights?
Yes,
There
there
is.
is. Yeah.
What is
There
the
is
distance
50
on that?
meters, right?
I think it's about 15, is it?
So you're
15
not
meters
so you're
or
not
something?
considered jaywalking
Jaywalking,
at that
no.
point.
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, I never
Wow.
knew that was
Yes.
a law.
That's why you have those signs with the pedestrian and the line
Yeah.
across.
And
At
that's
least you
why
really
you
cannot
also
cross.
have
Yeah.
railings that open because you're allowed to cross at that point, which I
Yeah.
find is so silly.
Like, why
put
not just
put a
paint
crossing or something,
yeah,
or do
paint a
something,
zebra crossing
or do
on-
something. Yeah, why don't they
But
do
I think
that?
the thing that if you have a crossing, I mean, you have the little gap there, right?
Yeah.
Then again, from the driver who just knows how to save his own skin,
Yeah.
you'll be like, okay, there's a gap there. I'm gonna be careful.
yeah.
But some drivers don't.
But
look
there's
at
no
it
sign as well.
regularly.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
know, I think it's really easy for the driver should be looking out for this, the driver should be looking out for that. He's already looking out for
For
Exactly.
this.
everything
Trust me.
else.
Yeah.
What he misses is that guy who decides, the car is 1.5 feet away. I can beat the car. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he cannot calculate.
And forgetting he's 60.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe thinking that he's 60 by seniority, he should give way.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
as well.
also
Yes.
that's
I get
also
that feeling
part of
sometimes
it. Yeah.
from behind the wheel, like that person is just gaming it because he
Yeah.
thinks that he's,
Yeah.
You give the old people points. Singapore system, you find them.
But
if
yeah,
they gonna caught.
But where do
Incentivize
these
him with
points
step
go,
challenge.
though? Where do these points
No,
go?
you get like three chances. Like, after the third chance, then you get fined. Then
I think we shouldn't give chances at all. I think pedestrians
their-
need
it's
to be
their
fined
lives.
exactly the same way as a driver is fined. That's the only way to cure this problem.
And they may stop.
Yeah.
They may stop if
They may
they're
stop.
fined.
Yeah. I think we need to do it, but it's tough to do though.
Yeah.
It's very, very
Yeah.
tough to do.
So, zebra crossings.
yes.
Who is in the right of way? Cars barely ever stop nowadays.
No,
Yeah.
but
no,
then-
a zebra
I know.
crossing definitely pedestrian.
Pedestrians,
Yeah,
right?
pedestrians.
But
And
I mean, you
zebras.
see all these cars and zebras.
And zebras.
Because
But
they
sometimes
look the
it's hard
same.
because the colors match and you can't see the zebra.
Yeah.
They're actually lying flat on the road, right?
Oh my gosh. There are people that I recently I saw an article of people lying on the crossroads.
Yes.
Crossroads.
What the hell was
zebra
that?
crossings. So we think FD and I were talking about it before. We
Yeah.
think it's for a social media stunt.
This
but
was here,
also
right? I just saw it
In
on
Singapore,
yeah.
on the article, and I'm just like, this is your life. Is it really worth? How much is your life worth at this point?
10 clicks.
10 new followers or 10
new-
likes.
Yeah.
Like
Views.
Oh, yeah,
it's
for the views.
crazy
It's
all about
though.
the views.
You could. I saw the picture. The guy's camera, like his in the car. The camera managed to capture him. And also there was someone that was crossing a zebra crossing and pretended to get hit and fall, forgetting that pretty much every car in Singapore these days has a camera.
Yeah.
So the video footage was actually quite. He's like
funny.
watching a soccer match, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, foul. Oh, yeah.
Does video footage come into play if it's a court case?
Typically, I think number one is, from my understanding, is the law would always cite the one that is more vulnerable, right?
The pedestrian.
So the
Pedestrian.
pedestrian.
Yeah,
number
but
one.
if a case like
if
that
I've got
where
a
he pretends
camera,
to
helps
floor.
you to make the case that this was, the
So
the
it does
person's
come into
deliberate.
play?
It definitely comes into play.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
So it can be refuted, lah.
Yeah, I guess.
Contested.
Okay,
yeah.
zebra
that's-
crossings. I've got two issues with zebra crossings.
You don't like the color.
No, between Far East and Hyatt.
Between Far
And-
East and
Oh,
Hyatt?
okay. So
Turning into the car park?
Yeah,
Oh
private
yeah,
ones.
yeah.
And
Oh, right, okay.
uh,
Tangs and
Tangs
Scott
and
Square.
Scott
Scott
Square.
Square,
yeah.
Now they're painted
It's
kind.
not a zebra
Those are
crossing.
No, it's
not
definitely
zebra
not a
crossings,
zebra
right?
crossing. Yeah.
It's a crossing.
Yeah.
It's a pedestrian crossing, but it's not an actual
It's
zebra
not-
crossing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I cross those streets almost every day because I work in that area.
Yeah.
And I always feel like that is one area where the cars feel like they have the right of way.
Yeah, and it's
And
an
it's scary.
accident waiting to happen.
But
Absolutely.
it hasn't yet. I think it's about using common sense.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
But how many of those pedestrians and how many of those drivers use common sense? The driver's going, I've got right away. The pedestrian goes, it's a crossing. Boom.
But sometimes what the pedestrians don't realize is the driver cannot wait there all day.
Yeah,
so they
because
just
it's backing
continue
up in
to cross.
traffic.
You know,
Yeah,
like when
yeah.
it's super crowded, they just continue to cross. They don't like give chance to the driver and say,
Yeah.
okay, you go first and then we'll continue to cross. Nobody does that.
Because it's out of 10 people, there's going to be that one
One person.
person that's like, I just walk. Everybody can walk behind
One
me.
brave man.
Yeah.
and that creates a backup down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not a legal crossing, but it is a
Yeah.
It is a
the
place
times
where
when I'm
they
at
know.
these places, which is once in a 2 blue moons.
Yeah.
Then
It's not that far, no. From
You
here.
don't go out much. Yeah. So they would put like security people and all that to
They
help.
do. That's in Lucky
No.
Plaza.
No, that's
Lucky
Lucky
Plaza has
Plaza.
them. Yeah,
Even
Lucky Plaza.
Cuppage, right? Cuppage,
Yes.
that area coming out as well. No zebra crossings, but everyone crosses because it's Orchard Road, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone is walking down there all the way to the Istana. That whole area.
Yeah.
Every time there's a little, and they're one-way streets too. And not only are they one-way streets, the turning lane is a bus lane. So
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
even, lagi more scary for a driver, right? Like you don't want to turn left, and you don't want to you can't. Yeah, it's a very scary little road, and there's no zebra crossings.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
scary for the driver and it's scary for the pedestrian.
But I'm thinking of like this is at the end of the day is the culture where we're at, right? Because
Yes.
the sport of crossing, I remember going to Vietnam.
Oh my gosh!
You know?
You
Yeah,
just
that's
got to be
quite
brave.
scary
Yes,
as well,
yes.
crossing, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
when I went to Vietnam, we had this guide, and he would sort of slowly inch out onto the roads, right? He was Vietnamese, obviously, and every time he saw like a little gap, he's like, just cross, and we'd just like follow, and they would slow down.
Yeah.
You know, everybody would slow down. You just have to
Blind faith.
Go, yes, blind
so
faith.
scary.
Well, Debster has come onto our Facebook page and said maybe talks given at senior centres or at community centres will help, providing people turn up for these things, I guess.
Okay, we got 25 seconds left. We're going back on air, and then maybe just a wrap up of what we were talking about. Yeah. Imagine Dragons there with Bones on Kiss 92. All the great songs in one place right here with our senior transport correspondent of the Straits Times, Nian Tjoe. Good morning. And we've just been talking about road safety, especially amongst the older people.
Yes.
Do you have anything to wrap this conversation up with?
I think actually earlier, just the last point that FD raised before we took
Came
a
back,
short
yeah.
break, right? Is this thing with education and engagement.
Yeah.
So I've been to like some activities hosted by the People's Association, at least in partnership, and the turnout is really pretty good. And I imagine that these people are, to use a modern parlance, is like they are the influencers among their own social cliques
Yes,
as well.
yes, they are.
It's
Yes.
true.
So
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Hey, you know, so and so, you know, come on, don't do this in front. Really dangerous. I think there is a potential of improving that in terms of the softer
The engagement and yeah.
side. Yeah, and then if you talk about the way the roads are planned, whether the dividers, whether there are gaps and all that, think about it. Even if it was continuous 500 meters of barriers, right? Somebody's going to jaywalk.
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the
Okay.
other side, I think it's also that the planning of these traffic systems, that you also put in these bleed out
Deterrence.
valves.
Yeah.
Deterrent, yes, but also where it is deemed safer, it's not always absolutely safe.
Yes.
Where it's safer, that you give them an opportunity because, like the chicken, they need to cross the road. You have to cross the road. You know?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's both sides at the end of the day. It's systems, structures, and also the people side, the software.
So
Yeah.
it's a constant work in progress, isn't
I'm
it?
sure, yeah.
What about
Yeah.
a campaign? You know, we have the courtesy campaign for like sitting on the public transport and stuff. A campaign just to breed awareness, because obviously social media is not something that the older people are going to be watching, but you know, posters and stuff like that. I mean,
You
I
think
know
they'll-
we don't have the power to do that, but it's cheaper than railings.
I don't know if
Yeah.
posters would help. I feel like they need to be spoken to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I
they
think
need
so.
to be
That's
spoken
true,
to
yeah.
in person
And
before they.
I think that's for the older people. For the younger people, I think there should be a ban on mobile phones when you're
yeah.
walking.
Oh, absolutely. Too many people are crossing the roads with their mobile phones.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Nian Tjoe, for being
Pleasure.
here with us this morning. Looking forward to speaking to you again. And if you missed anything at all, you can always head to our YouTube and Facebook channels. That's /KISS92FM. We'll see you next week.